What is up, my fellow dweebs? Welcome to Kev's Corner, where we will discuss the Season 2 premiere of Loki today. This is, of course, brought to you by our friends at Bite Size Sports and my channel, Criticult, which will be coming over to Dweeb full-time here in the near future. So if you look forward to little video essays about movies, the good, the bad, the ugly, be sure to look out for that. But don't forget, we've got episodes of Han Shot First coming up this week on Dweeb, and the flagship Dweeb podcast will be back soon. But in the meantime, right here in Kev's Corner is where I will talk to you about the things that I am watching until we get the Dweeb podcast back up and running. And then we'll just talk about that stuff there. So here we go. Loki, Season 2, Episode 1. I liked the introduction. I liked the beginning in a sense that not only the cinematography of it, I thought it was well edited. I liked the music. Now would be a good time to mention that there will be spoilers in this podcast, okay? You can run now. Go watch the episode if you would like and come back. I don't know that the numbers have been great for everything, so, you know, it could probably everybody wins if you go watch it before you listen any further. So we'll talk about everything that we liked, some things that we didn't like, but this won't be I regurgitate each plot point to you one at a time, all right? So we're not going to ruin everything here, but we're gonna ruin most of it as we talk about it. So here we go. I liked that it continued essentially immediately from the end of Season 1, which is a good time to note. A lot of people didn't like that. Said it felt like an epilogue to Season 1. So I just wanted to point that out. While I actually enjoyed that doesn't always work in other shows. You know, if we go over to Han Shot First and start talking about Star Wars, I might talk about needing a bigger gap in between seasons or something. Looking at you, Mandalorian. But in this case, I actually liked that it was a straight continuation, picked up from where they left off and continued that story. It's pretty crazy when you think about it. It's been a rough couple of weeks for this particular Loki. You know, that this whole Season 1 and now Season 2 has taken place over the course of a few days, I think. But as far as bottle episodes go, which is kind of what this felt like, this was sort of like, let's take an entire episode to kind of reset and get going for this new storyline. I didn't mind it. I know it's something I normally have an issue with. I've talked about, again, on Star Wars programs, some of their pointless side questy, go find this piece for our ship, but first you have to help the Jawas find this magic egg from some giant animal, that kind of stuff. You know, I don't always love it when they do that. Feels like they're just adding padding to a show. But I did think that this all made sense. They had a quick, smooth recap of Season 1, which was good because I personally didn't feel like going back to watch anything other than the final episode, really, because virtually I set out just to watch the Kang face off, you know, him tell his story. I had kind of forgotten that that's 80% of the final episode. And we get into Loki time slipping and escaping. And I just wanted to point out that he straight up murdered someone in the early going. When he jumps out and lands in that mail truck, it had some comedic moments for sure. And they slam into, right back into the building in the TVA. I mean, that whole little floating city is the TVA. Definitely gives you like Coruscant or Blade Runner vibes. So I like the little floating TVA city. That was very cool the way they set up. If you were paying attention, you could tell right away that it was a past, present, future situation, because Loki ends up right back in that same room, but now the windows are not windows, they're just panels, and there's that crack on the ground. So even before they verbalize it in the show, if you were immersed in what was going on, you probably noticed almost right away that, oh shit, this is the same room, and it's got it looks like it's the past or it's the future from that last room he was just in. So I I was intrigued. It set it up, but then yeah, that male woman just falls, and you hear the thud, and he's like, "She's okay. That lady's dead. All right. That's some 1989 Tim Burton Batman kind of stuff right there." But hey, I'm not knocking it. I just wanted to point it out. It kind of gave me a giggle, to be honest with you. It probably says something about me. I'll go see somebody. Don't worry. Uh, what did I say? Oh snap! He went back to the post. I like it. I don't even remember what that note means. But they went back to Morbius and B15, and that's where you get set up. I thought it was kind of funny. They having Loki almost catch up to Mobius time and time again, but it didn't overstay its welcome. It could have gotten annoying if they had continued it on, but not too bad there getting that set up. And the nice war room transition, I loved that, going from Loki to the crew. I missed one of my notes here that X5 is a dick. Noted. The show was very adamant about saying, oh, hey, here's X5. He's got his name on his gloves. He's brash. He's kind of a jerk, right? So that has been well established. Weird relationship he's got going on with the chief of the TVA police. I don't know if that's a we're in love situation or if it's a mother-son kind of thing. Not really sure. But we get the reveal that Renslayer was, I don't know, some sort of general for Kang in the war, or at least that maybe it was after the war they agreed to rule together. But you get that interesting reveal with Loki somehow knowing to rewind the tape a little bit so he could hear the name of the character Kang was talking to. But it was so that was kind of goofy, right? That's just very, very convenient. But the reveal itself wasn't bad. The head of the council decrees no more pruning after an interesting scene where B15 and Mobius are explaining the things as they know them. The police chief is still like, no, we have to prune these timelines, and Loki time slips. He finally makes it. He grabs X5's pruner and shows what is behind the Timekeeper's mural, and it's the 5 faces of Kang, and he has a very heartfelt, this is who stole your lives and wiped your memories, and this is what's coming. And then the swerve comes from the head of the council who's like, I can do anything I want. And it's like, oh shit, we're still going to be getting people pruned. But then no, she stays any and all pruning from now on. But then the police chief and X5 get a little close and say something about the timekeepers were false, but the prophecy is real. The warnings were real. So who knows what's going on there? All we know is they are mounting up, raiding the armory, going after Sylvie because, as the police chief said, this is all Sylvie's fault. So they believe that if they capture her and wipe her out, apparently that will somehow undo what was done. I don't understand the logic there, but it seems that they're doing it mysteriously so that we will have some kind of reveal later. I'm sure they're going to keep coming back to that plot thread, so more to come there. The time-slipping OB scene was a lot of fun, actually. The Ouroboros character, I think maybe he mistook Mobius or Loki for Mobius when he comes down. He's like, I haven't seen you in 400 years. You gave me the name OB. I'm wondering if that was Loki, because then Loki time slips and they have this conversation where Obi starts to remember things. Mobius asks him if he has stuff. He's like, no, I don't. Oh, come to think of it, I have one right here. And then you cut to seeing Obi and Loki making it 400 years ago. So that was a cool way to utilize this whole time slipping. The time slipping dynamic is, I don't know if it's going to continue based off of what happens at the end of this episode is kind of conflicting with some of the things I've seen in the trailer. So I assume that Loki's actually going to continue to time slip at some point. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but they're working to solve the time slipping. OB creates this MacGuffin thing that will shoot a giant harpoon out and grab Loki's energy after he's pruned and removed from all of time. So to explain it in case you're confused on it a little bit, the time slipping, essentially little pieces of Loki are scattered amongst the time stream, and so the plan was to prune him, to remove him from time and space, and therefore send out this magnet beacon that would collect him before he ends up back at the end of time, where all the pruned folks would go. And so that's the plan. And in order to do it, old Mobius is going to have to walk out there 2001 Space Odyssey style and hope he doesn't get spaghettified, which, if you noticed, the warning by the door said once you cross this line, there was a 7,000% increase in your chance of spaghettification. So they were really taking a risk on that one. And this is where it gets a little interesting. You know, we have the power surges through the TVA, and OB explains it that the temporal loom is overloading. And I like the temporal loom. It definitely, I mean, if you know what a loom is, it makes sense. You know, grabbing all these different threads and binding them together, so to speak. That's a layman's way of putting it. But yeah, the temporal loom stuff was pretty good, I thought, as far as the CGI. I think everything looked pretty pleasant. I didn't catch any major issues my first time through. It was, I don't know, you might have thought this funny, but OB says you have about an hour, you know, because again, the plan is Mobius has to shoot this harpoon out, and once the signal goes green, Loki only has a few moments to prune himself because they're going to have to close the blast doors. Now, and then, of course, a blast from the temporal loom cracks a window, and it goes from 1 hour to 15 minutes. So, of course, they got to run against the clock, which it's fair to have the run against the clock. That just, I don't know, it might have gotten a laugh out of a couple folks here and there, and in which case it worked for you. I thought it was the wrong kind of goofy in what should have been a point in the story where they're building tension. This is already going to be one of those race against the clock kind of heist scenes. So I don't know. I've faulted Marvel on this and just Disney in general before. Sometimes their jokes are very poorly timed. It's not a great idea. You know, you view the tension as a balloon that you're filling with air that eventually is going to burst. You know, jokes are essentially letting some air out of that balloon. So yeah, you get the pop, you get the cheap laugh, but at what cost? You know, it's undercutting the actual point of the scene and what you're trying to get to as far as what emotions you're pulling out of the audience. So a minor thing, but didn't love it. So Loki gets pruned in time and saves Mobius from certain doom, and that whole thing I think is going to be the mystery of this season. Loki, of course, time slips to the future at the worst time, and he can't find a pruner, but somehow, some way, there was someone else there. You can see someone behind him at one point, and someone prunes him at the very last second. So he's able to come back. Mobius is not going to be able to move in time with all the all the energy's pulling and pushing. He's in this massive space suit with a tube on the back of it. He can't run fast enough to get to the closed or the closing blast doors, and luckily Loki's momentum being yanked out of the sky or whatever by the soul harpoon that they grabbed for him, that slings them both in just as the doors close, so everybody is safe. And then we of course see that the armory again that we mentioned has been raided. The police are mounting up. They've got, I mean, everybody had duffel bags. They are going hard after Sylvie, and that is where they leave the main episode. But we did have a post-credit scene, and in the credits themselves, there were a lot of photos. Go check out, I would say, I don't know, Heavy Spoilers, Screen Crush, New Rock Stars, maybe Emergency Awesome. I know a few of those channels have broken down all the things that were hidden in the post credits, or in the credits. So go check that out. I don't have all of that stuff pulled out in front of me, but there's a lot of references to black holes. There are some Easter eggs for the Scarlet Witch, I am told. But the post credit scene had Sylvie at a fast food place. It was a McDonald's. At first I liked it, and then I realized it was a McDonald's, and it felt more like it was a stupid ad. But a couple of funny jokes about, nothing with a face, no possums, whatever. But okay, so Sylvie is in the 80s, and maybe we will be seeing how that plays out in episode 2. But I don't know. I've struggled between where to give this on the number scale. I'm between a 7 and an 8, 7.5 maybe. I'm just going to call it an 8 for now. I thought it was a good start. I haven't been very high on a lot of Disney television when it comes to either Marvel or Star Wars. So Loki was one of the series that I did like, although it's frustrated me at times too. Kind of a lot like Ahsoka, which again, check out our full series recap later this week on the Han Shot First podcast right here on Dweeb. But 8 out of 10 for me, Loki Season 2, Episode 1. I will be doing episodes on this show about every episode, so be on the lookout for that. Also, keep your eyes out for my Gen V episode recaps. Big fans of the boys here at Dweeb. You can hear all of our conversations about previous seasons of the boys on the main Dweeb podcast, which is right here, or also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that good stuff. But I will be covering Gen V here on Kev's Corner until, again, we get the main Dweeb podcast back up and running. So if you're interested in that, keep on the lookout. And in the meantime, thank you so much for listening. If you could like, subscribe, leave me a comment, any thoughts you have, anything that I missed. I'm sure there's a ton of stuff that I missed, smaller details from episode 1, any theories that you have. We will start to theory craft as more episodes get put out. But once again, thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great day or night, and we will see you next time.